So this is Seth Tabatsnik. I'm the CEO of 42 Acres and one of the co-founders, and I just wanted to give a 3 to 5 minute video walking through the 42 Acres programming framework. This was set in August 2021. So the vision for 42 Acres is living in harmony with self, nature and others. Our programs are an invitation to connect and explore with self, nature and others through well-being, food and land. And through experiences and teachings, 42 Acres will be a learning and discovery center for curious and like-minded people to gather and experience more about their connection to self, nature and others. Our role as 42 Acres will be to design, host and invite unique and transformative programs of all levels. So this means entry point all the way through deep transformational experiences, and sharing the teachings of the land through respected and gifting practitioners and artists, which includes really at the core of it our 42 Acres team. So the framework is really based around on-site and online. Where we are at now is in 2021 has much more of a focus on-site. And the site really is the heart, and it's a living example of our philosophy and values. And the online side, for now, is really a portal to bring the global community. It's an outreach platform, and it's also a pathway into 42 Acres land to encourage people through our message to want to come and connect with us more deeply. At this stage, it's not a place for programming. And in terms of how we structure things, I look at the roots and the branches. The roots are really what's deep below the ground. It is the self, the nature and others connected to our vision. And the branches are how we communicate that. So that's through our food philosophy and through conscious living. Those are the two strands or branches that really expand on our roots to the outside world. I've just shown how this looks in reality, and how they all connect. So if we start with the food philosophy and how this interacts with self, nature and others, we see that the food philosophy connects in the self through some examples such as cooking, fermenting, preserving and diet, through nature, through foraging, growing food, agri-wilding concept, and through others through forest dining, communal eating, communal cooking, and then conscious living as an overarching branch. Again, how it connects to self is through things like yoga, meditation, breath work, and the idea of elegant simplicity. Conscious living and nature connect through programs such as spiritual ecology, nature connection, bushcraft, biodiversity related activities and retreats. And conscious living through others is around organizational retreats, games and play. This then gives a sense of the customer journey. So if we look at the one end on the left hand side, we've got the low cost commitment, on the right hand side a high cost commitment, and that's not only financial but it's also time. So here we've got things such as free content, social media, newsletters that's going to rely more on casting a wider net to a bigger audience, generally free and online. We may also then do online talks, which are a higher time commitment, may also be a higher cost commitment. Some of them may be paid. We also have activities and treatments, which may be going to be much more on-site, and again they're low entry point in terms of cost commitment. It may be 1 or 2 hour session up to 3 hours, and then it would move on to a half-day immersion, and then moving towards a full-day immersion, which then may translate into retreats and longer-term accredited courses. And this may be one single type of retreat, or it may be lots of different ones that happen throughout this, but at the core of all of it is what we're calling the 42 Acres experience, which is based around whole self-service, where that may be, for instance, a mushroom foraging workshop that's an activity. It could turn into a half-day workshop for longer courses, full-day immersions. We may have a retreat all around mushrooms, but that could also include things like working in the gardens and other whole self-service activities as well. But this is just to give an overarching flavor of it. As mentioned before, each stepping stone has a price point, and obviously the higher the price, the less people you would have on each program. We then have category types, so in terms of how we designate criteria to all of the different types of programs. We would be looking to have big names and elders, which would be by invitation, for big retreats, which may be just in the current retreat of 30 people, or maybe across the whole site. We're developing an ambassador program, which is a small group of those who are most aligned to our philosophy, which would have a whole package around it. That will be in the annex of this document. Partnerships, so that may be with some of our existing networks, such as Be the Earth. It may be corporate partnerships that we develop in the future, or certain practitioners that we want to support in a more bespoke way, where we feel very aligned to them. Experience 42, so that was what I pointed towards on the last page. This is our flagship weekend retreat, and we'll have components of it throughout the year that may be activities through to half or full day immersions. There are all versions of the Experience 42 Acres and whole self-service. Organizational well-being, so this is around corporate, non-profit gatherings where we would invite teams to come, and that would be anything from a dry hire through to in-house design and curated retreats that we would facilitate and again connect with our whole self-service. Space hire, so this is currently our bread and butter, but really hiring the space as it comes. We would obviously do the food, and the goal would be to include more and more of the whole self-service into that, and things like talks and activities organized by us, so that we're taking more and more ownership of those space hires. Practitioner circle is something we've done in the past, and this is a gathering of those practitioners that are either in our network already or that we want to invite in as a community building activity for the kind of well-being circle. And it's a really great event that we've run in the past, and we'd love to be doing moving forward to build that network and the strength of that community, and something that others are not doing. Online is online, so using it for the live streaming of certain events as we grow and develop, publishing some of the content that may already be happening on site, and it may be in the future used as part of retreat and accredited courses. And the exchange is something that we would want to welcome once we have all of our rooms available across the whole site, where we can invite practitioners and speakers who may want to come and stay for a week or 2 weeks or even just a few days. And instead of paying money, we would exchange their services so that they could do talks, workshops, promotions for us to build and add to our activity list and programming. Quotas. So the idea of our quotas is really to encourage diversity relating to self, nature and others, and both through our branches of food and conscious living. We want the place to be a reflection of our philosophy, and also for people to be coming to look on the website, for them to see a wide range of different programs and activities that would speak to them or to different audiences, so that we're not seen as, for instance, a yoga center or a meditation center or just a food farm, that it's really diversity around self, nature and others through food and conscious living. In order to achieve that, we've suggested a maximum of 25% of our offerings per month in any one practice, which hypothetically means no more than 8 days per month and no more than 2 weekends of any one type of retreat, such as yoga, bushcraft, foraging, cooking, just to give examples, so that we're not too heavily weighted. And then also we're often approached by people who want to run events that can't afford the space or have want to be able to subsidize it to their audience, and this is something that we'd also love to support. But again, there's got to be some kind of a limit on that, so we've suggested no more than 10% of the overall programming is subsidized, and that we would actively encourage one retreat per quarter and one activity or immersion per month that is low or no cost. Then put up an example year, and I've used 2025 because I would say that at the absolute latest we're fully living our programming in full, and so I picked that as a reflection of to give us time to get there. So on a daily basis we would be looking at some self-guided free activities, so people may do nature walks, animal spotting, and have their own guides and walking trails, boating, paddle boarding, natural gym. These are just examples, but not far off the reality. Then there would be 2 to 3 guided free activities. So we want to encourage people to be part of the 42 Acres community, and that means whether you're on a short stay or on a retreat, that there are crossovers between those guests, where we might have a guided farm walk or a nature walk, encouraging people into the gardens, or an estate activity, wood chopping as an example. And in addition to that, there'd be a menu of paid activities, mostly targeted at the holiday stays, but also there may be group activities that target the retreat guests. So those could include things like bushcraft, foraging treatments, different types of readings, or massage, etc., etc. Then on a weekly basis, this is something we want to build consistency around. So Thursdays to Sundays, we would ensure that we have a 2-hour to half-day talk or workshop or daytime evening activity, so that we've got regular programming and people know when they're coming to 42 Acres that there are things that always happen on a weekly basis between these days. This could include things like a talking series on soil to gut. We could have guest speakers, it could be in-house, it could be a weekly cooking workshop, but the idea would be to fill each of those days from Thursday to Sunday with some kind of a 2-hour to half-day workshop, so there's regular programming for when the majority of guests are on site. There'll be an overlap between that and the monthly activities, so we would like to get to a 42 experience day once a month, and again this could be any of the kind of different departments, whether it's through the estate or F&B or guest experience, but really giving people a taste of 42 Acres through an experience day, and there are a few examples there. Then on a quarterly basis, a big name retreat, which would take over the whole site. We'd love to have seasonal events, like a summer festival, annual harvest festival, tree planting weekend. Those are all examples of what could happen on a quarterly basis. And then on a yearly or biannual basis, we'd love to host practitioner gatherings and or seasonal events such as those described above. That's it. There's also an appendix worth looking through where there's a bit more detail on all of these. I hope that was helpful. Thank you so much, and ciao for now.